Welcome to Young Money. I'm Nozi Pombanjwa. Today we're catching up with the co-founder of Kgoshigadi. Her name is Jovana Korac, and she and her partners have come up with an affordable, biodegradable sanitary pad solution to keep young girls in school. Now, the stats that she's shared with me have really boggled my mind. The estimates are that between 4 to 9 million young girls stay out of school every time they are on their periods, and their social enterprise has been geared and set up to solve this very problem. Let's catch up with her and find out how exactly she's doing this. I'm really excited when I get to speak to female entrepreneurs, because I just don't think there's enough of us out there. So congrats for making it onto the show. Let's talk about the product that you're bringing to market. Walk us through what it is and how you're manufacturing it as well.
Sure. So Kgoshigadi was initiated in 2012 and we worked on a donations model. We initially collected sanitary pads for girls in the areas of Garankuwa, Hammanskraal and Kgoshigadi. Tebogo Motobatse from Kgoshigadi actually initiated the project. And as we sort of moved along, we realized we need to pivot our business model in a sense that we couldn't rely just on charities and outreach programs from corporates, because once the finance dries up and you've established a relationship with girls within the communities, there's no contingencies put into place. So we decided we wanted to manufacture and distribute our own sanitary pads, and this is where the idea from Kgoshigadi as a social enterprise started. So we're very happy to be on this route. It's 3 female co-founders, and we use a social franchise model to set up mini factories within communities, and then we upskill local women in manufacturing, business skills and business ownership.
So I want you to take me back to the beginning of the chain at the manufacturing point. What are the inputs that the community of women are using? How do you select the women, and how are you ensuring that as they manufacture the product, it meets the standard and the quality that you expect?
Sure. So the women that we choose are selected specifically for being firebrand community leaders. Everybody within communities and townships throughout South Africa knows a woman who looks after kids, who is just doing her own to sort of better the communities, and these are the individuals that we look for. In terms of standards testing, we are currently going through both SABS testing and an international testing company. And in terms of actually the raw products that we use agri-waste from banana farming. So we process leaves from banana farming to actually get a banana fiber. We're also exploring using hemp and sisal fiber from the guava cactus. And the reason those 3 fibers were chosen was because they actually have the highest absorbency rates as natural fibers.
So they have a high absorbency rate, but they're also biodegradable. Does this make them cheaper than the average sanitary pad that you would pick up off a shelf in a retail store?
So actually biodegradable fibers are technically more expensive because we're not getting them in mass bulks from China and other countries. What makes it cheaper is that there are no distribution costs. The only distribution cost we incur is getting the raw materials from our central agency to the communities. But because they're locally produced and locally distributed, we cut costs in that way. And we also use a micro-selling model to sell smaller batches of pads. So where cash flow is an issue, everyone can afford 2 Rand or 4 Rand to buy a 2-pack or a 4-pack. And that way everyone's constantly got access to the pads.
You know, oftentimes when we talk about business and impact, we look at the bottom line, but with this social enterprise model, I'm also assuming that your impact can also be reflected in terms of the social change and impact you're making within those communities. Can you talk us through some of the needles that you've been able to move on the back of this business?
Sure. So with social enterprise, it's really this idea of you can do business and you can do good at the same time. And it's using proven business models to engage social impact initiatives and actually make the initiative sustainable and scalable. So for us, we kind of have a trifecta that we like to think that we're hitting. So we're reducing menstruation-related absenteeism in communities. We're employing women and women that are sort of in the lowest LSMs and within communities that are very impoverished are actually at the most at risk when it comes to poverty. So we're creating a sustainable employment model for them, and also the biodegradable nature. So we're introducing an eco-friendly alternative to something that has no eco-friendly alternative other than a reusable model that comes up with its own issues.
So one of the things that's really exciting about this initiative is that you've taken what is generally a CSI initiative or a social good, and you've actually turned it into a financially viable business. Talk me through that transition and the kind of reaction you've got from the stakeholders that you needed support from.
Sure. So this was always an idea for us, was that we will not sort of rely on handouts. We will always be sort of self-sustaining. And for us, that was very important from the beginning, and it is what sort of brought about the model. So the idea is that you, as a corporate who maybe has a certain amount of funding, we're saying to you, rather do not buy 1,000 packets of pads, because you give that out to 1,000 girls, and then what? The next month we've got the same problem again. So rather take that money and help us set up one of our mini factories, and that will ensure a much bigger impact, in the sense that women will have constant employment, in the fact that the girls will have a constant supply of healthy, safe and biodegradable pads that they can actually afford. And also it will help us grow the initiative and grow this idea of a social enterprise that can be a fully sustained model and can sort of rely on itself and not necessarily on handouts or grants or anything like that.
So I want to come back to the personal, because I'm in total awe of you right now, how you running, you have a full-time career, and also at the same time running this social enterprise. Talk me through that struggling and the kind of juggling that you then have to master to make both ventures a success.
Well, not having any sleep is always a good start. I mean, it's hard because it's not even an 8-hour day. If you're in corporate, it's really fast-paced. You have to put in the hours. So you come home at 7, 8 at night, then you put in another 2-3 hours on the social enterprise. But I think once you're young, you can do it. You just got to put in the hours and see the end goal. And there's always that saying that you're going to work right now how most people won't, so that you can live one day like most people can't. And that's kind of always been giving us the push. And at the end of the day, it's not just about us. There's community stakeholders, there's corporates that we're working with, that we're partnering, so you can't let them down. And then most importantly, it's also my two co-founders, Tebogo Motubate and Simpiwe Ntambo, who I mentioned beforehand. And at the end of the day, it's also them, and you can't let them down. So, and it's great to have a team as well. That's the one thing I think that's kind of kept us alive, is that you can phone somebody that you trust and say, hey, do you mind taking care of this, or can you go to this, I'm unavailable. So we kind of spread the workload between the three of us. So it's not me by any way, but it's really having that support, and also just kind of pushing yourself every day. Even when you're tired, when you don't want to do things, when friends are out partying, you're there at home working. It's kind of towards an end goal, and that's what I really push myself towards.
And for you to get to that end goal, somewhere along the line, you almost need fuel to keep the engine running. And part of that fuel is the money that you need to fundraise, or investors that need to come on board. What is the current stance on getting investors in? And if you have tried to raise capital before, what has that experience been like?
I think as social entrepreneurs, we have a one-up. I've been to many entrepreneurship workshops, sessions, and they always talk about, don't tell the people about your how or your what, tell them about your why. And I think as a social entrepreneur, that why is what actually is the first starting point. So with us, we have a really good story to tell. I think people can buy into our story, and that's for me very important, is that we get the message across that, while there has been no definite accurate number or research done, it's estimated that between 4 to 9 million schoolgirls miss 1 week of school every month because they cannot afford sanitary pads. And for us, that was always been the driver, and that is something that corporates can sort of buy into, or any potential partners and investors can buy into. We currently work off of the basis of putting forward grants proposals just while this initial phase of sort of setting ourselves up as a recognized business. And then once that happens, we really want to, approach venture capital companies and approach sort of social impact companies, venture companies, because I think there's a massive potential, and not just in terms of economic returns, but like you say, the social returns as well.
There's a very interesting conversation around women investing in women, and I'm interested in finding out whether that's part of the capital raising strategy that you would look at, because one would also think the resonance of this particular enterprise amongst women would be much higher than maybe a corporate or a venture capitalist who is a man. Are you looking at women to invest in the business?
Absolutely. I mean, we're engaging anyone who's willing to view our objectives and to understand our mission and to understand the path that we're on, but also understand the end user and understand the struggles that somebody has to go to do. And for us, when we started, it was actually almost a half joke that we're starting this business out of anger. And so for any woman that might want to sort of engage with us, we're always very happy, or any man, anyone who understands the nature of this problem and is willing to engage us, we're more than happy to.
Well, there you have it, the co-founder of Kgoshigadi. Almost 4 to 9 million girls, these are the estimates that players in this field are playing with, miss school because of their menstrual periods. This is a social enterprise that's ensuring that these girls stay in school by looking at biodegradable, increasingly affordable options of sanitary pads. I'm in absolute awe, and I really hope that for the investors that are watching this show, that you will be investing in this social enterprise. Guys, if you want to have your story shared on Young Money, all you need to do is just follow me on Twitter. It's @TheRealNozi or @CNBC Africa, and don't forget the hashtag. It's YoungMoney410. Let's go out there and change the world.